Emily, welcome to the Amelie Moran podcast. I'm so excited to have you here because we're going to be talking about your time in Asia, traveling and moving to Melbourne with a partner, which is something we both know about. But let's start with what made you decide to travel to Asia.
So I'm 23, I did a gap year when I was 18 and I got a bit unlucky with it. My gap year was 2020.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, so we all know how well that went.
So did you actually end up leaving the UK and have to come home or?
So I got really lucky. A lot of my friends who were going on a gap year left in January and then got caught up in all the COVID stuff and had to get like emergency flights home and stuff. I went October to December and did Thailand, Cambodia and Vietnam and fell in love with traveling. The really classic, went, loved it, wanted to go do more.
Yeah.
So I had South America booked and then COVID happened, everything got cancelled and then kind of got caught up in going to uni and all of that.
Fair.
And I always knew after uni, I was like, I want to have the gap year I never had.
Right.
And part of that was I always wanted to go back to Asia, do Thailand again, like travel it a bit more because when I did it when I was 18, it's very different to when you're a little bit older, like it was very much like, let's go out drinking, like, temples, who cares about that,
Culture just like goes out the window.
Yeah, unfortunately. So I was like, I should probably go back and actually like see some of the country rather than just all the bars that Thailand has to offer. So I thought I'd start there. And then we obviously knew we were going to move to Australia as well as part of a way to kind of save up for the travels. I was like, if I'm going to have to work in hospitality after uni, might as well do it in somewhere that's got nicer weather.
Yeah, and actually pays better than the UK.
Pays, yeah, a little bit nicer. So we kind of figured that actually going to Asia would be a really good way to break up the time difference as well.
Fair. Okay, so sort of like a stopover-ish.
Yeah, exactly.
Long stopover.
Yeah, exactly. Because we were looking at maybe doing like, the classic is you go to Singapore for a few days and stuff like that. And we were like, that's going to be really expensive. Not sure we can afford that.
Is it?
Singapore is so expensive.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Crazy. Like, what if you want to do it like properly? Like, you can do it on a budget, but there's not really much point. Like, if you're going to do it,
you want to experience it properly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we were like, we could go do like 5 nights in Singapore, or we could go do like 3 weeks in Thailand. So
oh my god, that's a comparison. Fair.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
We decided to do that instead, and then we were going to fly on from Thailand to Australia, just help to break up the kind of travel a bit as well, make it a little bit easier. So yeah.
And then so the move to Melbourne, that was the first thing you decided, and then you were like, okay, we'll do some traveling. But was the main goal like, I want to move to Australia? That's where I'm gonna set up, or is it like, let me try it out for a year, or what? Or do we not know?
That's a great question.
Still figuring it out.
It's a very roundabout answer. I won't lie to you. So basically, right, I was always like, I'm gonna save up through uni, go travel South America for like 3-4 months when I finish, and then go get a grad job.
Okay.
Yay, stuff. And then in third year, I was like, I'm not sure I just want to do like 3 months. Like, I think I want to do a bit longer. And I was like, I was still saving throughout uni. And then I was like, grad jobs aren't looking like they're going to happen,
Really?
Like, I'm like applying to them, not getting interviews and stuff like that. Like, everyone on my course was struggling to get stuff. So, it was not just me being a bit rubbish at job applications, luckily. Like, everyone in my year was struggling to get something. Like, even now I know, like 3 people got grad jobs out of my year at uni. And like, we're not dumb.
Oh my god.
It was, the market has just gone absolutely insane. So I was like, right, okay, well, if I'm not restricted with a grad job, but I'm still going to need to earn money, I'm not going to be able to like go and do the travel I want on like what I had saved. Maybe I'll look at going and living somewhere and earning money and kind of saving money that way, and then I can carry it on. And then obviously with the working holiday visas, you could go Canada, New Zealand and Australia. Canada, I was like, I don't know, I'd like to do a ski season there, but I was like, I don't really want to go there for the summer. I don't know, I just never had the pull to go there. I also have never skied or snowed, so, big dreams to do a ski season.
Bit ambitious.
Yeah, literally. No one pointed that out to me as I was talking about it, and no one went, "You've never actually done either of them," but okay. New Zealand, my boyfriend Max, his little sister actually lived there last year.
Oh, wow.
Brilliant, because great insight from someone who lives there, but she was saying that how crazy expensive it was, and like, you know,
I have heard this.
And because it's a bit smaller, it's a bit harder to get the jobs and stuff, like a bit harder to find accommodation and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, Australia it is. I'm running out of places to go. That's the last one left. So
I love that. I have heard that about New Zealand though. Like, everybody says it's a must-see country, but like traveling there or even obviously living there is so expensive. People say it's more expensive than Australia. I don't know. Would you say it is? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Right, put it this way. So I've booked flights to Queenstown for the first week of December.
Okay.
And I was looking at renting a camper van.
Yes.
The cheapest, smallest camper van I can find will be over $1,000 for 5 days. That's not even including like the insurance, the petrol, the food, nothing. That's just
like 500
to get
quid.
that's just to get the van for 5 days.
Oh my God. Oh, okay, yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Good tip.
Yeah.
Good tip.
I mean, worth going, don't get me wrong, but you know, save
you
up
gotta,
half a fortune in the
yeah,
meantime.
it feels like it's like a thing you have to commit to. Like, it's not like a quick, let's go do a weekend in New Zealand. It's like, no, you need to save and commit to this.
Yeah.
So where did you go in Asia?
Okay.
This time round.
So we had, for all my, I'm a very big planner. For all my planning, I didn't think to check the weather.
Oh, okay.
So we were meant to do 3 weeks in Thailand, and we were supposed to do, we were supposed to fly into Phuket and do like the islands and stuff, Koh Sok National Park, and then go up to the north, and then we were going to finish off in Bangkok. Standard plan, nice and easy. So we get there, and we're on the island, and it starts great, you know, beautiful sunshine and stuff, and then, you know, oh, it's a little bit rainy. Okay, well, we're from the UK, we can handle rain. And then, oh no, it's actually torrential downpours every single day.
Oh my God.
And we were like, okay, like, you know, that's fine, you know, it is what it is. And then as we are heading up to Koh Sok National Park, you know, the ones where you stay on the floating bungalows and stuff? Yeah. So as we're heading up there, I don't know, did you see the typhoon that went across Vietnam and stuff?
When was this?
So this was probably like the first or second week of September.
Maybe I did hear it. I'm not 100% sure.
It was kind of,
Are they quite common there?
From what I've seen, not to the extent that it was, as in like the kind of chaos it caused. So as we were going up to Koh Sok National Park, we met two lads who were from the Netherlands, I want to say, who were supposed to be in Vietnam and had to leave because basically this typhoon went across the north of Vietnam, kind of like the top of Laos and the top of Thailand and stuff like that. And like 150 people died in Vietnam. It was really serious.
God.
Yeah, it was really
like
bad.
really bad.
Yeah, and we were like, oh, okay, you know, that's probably what all the rain is. You know, it's just a leftover of the typhoon. And they were like, yeah, we were supposed to be in Vietnam. We've had to come over here instead. And we're like, okay, cool. We were looking, and like Chiang Mai and like Pai, which is in the north, Thailand, which is where we were supposed to be going, were like flooding, and it was rain all day, every day. And we're like, oh no,
this doesn't sound fun.
That's not the holiday we were expecting, you know. And the holiday I'd sold my poor boyfriend, who's never been outside of Europe, you know. I was like, yeah, Thailand's so lovely. It's so sunny. You get burned,
You're gonna love it.
you know.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah. And then I brought him here, and he was like, I could have got rained on for free at home. And I was like, yeah, that's a valid point. So,
oh no.
Yeah.
So what did you do? You just had to change the trip?
Yeah, we just went to Bali instead. So we were in the Koh Sok National Park, and we were, and it rained the entire time we were there as well, which was, you know, a slight dampener on the plans, but we still made do. But as we were getting on the boat to go to the bungalows, there was a girl behind us, and she said as a joke to her boyfriend, like, oh, we should just go to Bali instead. And I was like, oh, haha. Wait. I was on the ferry, like, getting covered in rain, like, trying to check the flights and whether it would be an option, like, on my phone. And Max was like, what are you doing? Because I'm known for, like, being on a holiday and booking another holiday type thing. Like,
are you?
I'm awful for it. Like,
holiday never ends.
To the point that, like, so we were here for, like, we'd landed in Melbourne for, like, 3 weeks before I was booking a holiday and planning a holiday.
Oh my God, I love this. Oh my God, I love this.
I'm awful for it. But he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, well. And basically we then got to the bungalow and we were like, yeah, okay, let's make a plan. We were like, we'll just have it as a bit of a backup plan. If the weather doesn't improve, you know, spoiler alert, the weather did not improve. Oh, no. So we ended up doing, we did like probably about 8 days in Thailand, went to Bali for 8 days, and then came back and had like 4 or 5 days in Bangkok, and then flew to Melbourne. So, you know, bit of a switch around to what we were going to do, but it was great. And like Bali was incredible, and it was the sunshine that we wanted and stuff like that.
Nice.
And we just chilled. I mean, we both got like Bali belly and upset stomachs, but you know.
Did you?
Yeah, but that's fine, isn't it? It's just part of traveling.
I know, I want to ask, like, so you say you like planning. Does like the change of plan, does that freak you out? Are you one of those people that's like getting quite stressed, panicky, or are you like, yeah, it's fine, we'll just do that and then I can plan the next bit?
So the initial change of plan freaks me out, and I am like, I'm also thinking like, I can't survive this, like everything's gonna go wrong. And then as soon as like we have then a direction that I can then start planning again,
right,
I love it. All of a sudden I'm so much happier, and I just start planning it again. So it's kind of a joke that I'll make like a PowerPoint presentation, but I did actually make a PowerPoint presentation once.
I love that.
For my holiday. My old housemate, bless her, we went to the Dolomites, and I was like, I kind of said it as a joke, and because we were going to look at walks and stuff, I was like, actually I really want to do that, and I did make her a PowerPoint presentation, and she looked at me like I was mad, but I just like to plan. I like to know what I'm doing. No,
I think that's fair. I just feel like because when we were traveling, I feel like you meet two different types of people. Like the people that they say they're going away for 4 months, and they have every single hostel booked, every accommodation, they know every excursion. And then you have the other people that are like, I don't even know where I am tomorrow. I'm just seeing what's happening, listening to what people say, taking advice from other people. And I find it really interesting, like, meeting the two, because I don't know what I would say I am. I feel like at the beginning of our travels, I was definitely a planner, like, basically planned the whole of Central America. And and then it got to Colombia, and I think we both were a bit like, Central America is pretty obvious where to go. It's like a straight line. So suddenly it gets to South America, and you're like, do I go left? Do I go right? Like, what country is good? Like, what do I do? So I feel like then is kind of when we became the more chilled out, oh, we'll just book whatever, it's fine. Also, we did have a lot of time, so it was like, that kind of helped. Is Asia as affordable as people say? Did you have a budget, and did you stick to it?
So we did have a budget. Obviously went a bit
you never stick to the budget.
Yeah. And it didn't, the kind of, you know, booking flights with 3 days notice never helps either.
True.
So because we were actually supposed to go to Cambodia as well, which we then ended up sacking off because we just didn't fancy it in the end. Yeah. We were like, my boyfriend and I are very nervous flyers, and when we flew, we meant to fly back from Bali and then fly to Cambodia, and the flight back from Bali was horrific. Like it was like a 4-hour flight, but there was just a lot of turbulence, and like the landing, so we were on the like Ryanair equivalent, you know, the Bali Ryanair equivalent, and the landing, oh my god, like we were both holding hands convinced we were going to die.
Oh no.
Like it was, we were flying, you know, normally you kind of go like that and then you land, nice and easy. It was like that, and then bumping up and down. It was horrific.
If you're a nervous flyer as well, that's horrible.
We got off the plane and were both nearly in tears. Like we were so terrified, and I am dramatic, don't get me wrong, but it was horrific. So, but I think certainly Thailand is a little bit more expensive now than it was.
Okay.
But it's still very cheap.
It's still pretty cheap.
Like we were eating out every meal of the day and probably paying like £20 in total.
Fair.
For all 3 meals. You know, like it is very easy to do it cheap. So some of the hostels we were looking at booking, there were dorms for like £5 a night and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can, and Thailand's meant to be like one of the like more expensive like kind of countries and stuff like that. So Bali was definitely more expensive, but we were in Canggu, which is more of like the touristy kind of party area, and a little bit more kind of like Instagrammy and stuff like that, with all the cute cafes and stuff. That was a little bit more expensive, but when I say a little bit more expensive, I mean I was paying like £6 for my lunch instead of £3. Yeah, you know, like it
feels expensive at the moment because you've just been somewhere where it's so cheap. Yeah, I get what you mean. Okay, I want to hear some of your favourite stories from Asia. Any adventures or funny moments that stood out?
Well, I mean, apart from being rained on constantly, that was very much of a kind of like, you got to laugh or you cry. So with Khao Sok National Park, we were in Phuket, and we could either get the bus there and then go straight onto the floating bungalows and stuff, or we could get the bus up and stay in the national park for a night and then go onto the floating bungalows.
Right.
And we looked at doing it so that you just got the bus straight up, and we're like, it's going to make it a really long travel day. Like, we're probably going to both get a bit grumpy and tired and then argue, and actually, for the sake of 20 quid to stay a night, should we just do that instead? So we booked, I actually don't even know how I would describe it. It was sold as like a tree house. It was like a bungalow on stilts, but like very high off the ground stilts. And it was in the middle of the forest, right next to this river.
Where are you staying? I'm like, what?
We rocked up to it and I was like, oh, are we going to get kidnapped?
Oh my God, this is in the middle of nowhere.
It was in the middle of nowhere. We had to get someone to come and like, someone came and picked us up from the bus stop because it's that kind of like middle of nowhere, you know.
Oh my God.
They had their own like ATM in the middle of the hostel because you couldn't get to like back to the town like easily. So we're on this like bungalow, like on these stilts, and like there's this huge river which normally you can swim in, but because it'd been raining so much, it was like flooding, like that's why the house was on stilts, because it was flooding. We were like, right, okay, this is great. You know, I'm thinking like we've booked the most horrific place ever. I was like, I'm really sorry. We walk into this bungalow and there's a sign on the wall and it says, don't leave your toiletries in the bathroom. You have to like pack them away. Otherwise the monkeys will try and get them.
Oh my God.
What do you mean the monkeys are going to try and steal my toiletries? Like,
why do they need my moisturiser?
Literally. And I was like, oh no, they must be joking, they must be joking. So we go in and they basically, the top part of the bungalow is like open.
Okay.
So you've got like wooden like railings almost. So nothing could come in. I mean, like geckos and stuff could come in, but no monkeys could come in. And the bathroom is outside. But again, like you've just got like chicken wire over the top of the bathroom type thing.
Oh.
So you can see everything. So I'm out having a shower and like I start hearing these monkeys like kind of calling and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, you know. And it's like dark, you know, the only light on is in the bedroom. And I was like, okay, cool, this is pretty cool. And then I start seeing the trees move right next to where the bathroom is. And I was like, it's a bird. It's a bird. It's not monkeys.
Rationalise.
As I'm there with all my toiletries, like, oh my God, I'm going to get robbed by a monkey. And I was like, no, it's fine. It's a bird. It's a bird. It's a bird. It's nothing big. And then the monkey, like, comes and clings onto the chicken wire. And I went, no, absolutely not.
No,
ran into the bedroom screaming. I was like, you've got to see this. Because Max is like, great. Like, monkeys on the roof. Amazing.
No.
And they are all over the roof. There's a little balcony bit they were jumping on. They were swinging on the trees and stuff. I'm there in my towel, like, terrified. Like, we're going to get eaten alive. Yeah, literally. I'm convinced they're going to break in, like, eat me, like, horrific stuff. And he's there, like, whoa, this is so cool, like filming it to send to his granddad and stuff, and I'm like,
oh my God,
this is great. Like it was incredible once I'd got over the initial like fear of it.
Yeah.
But oh my God, I was convinced I was gonna get like attacked or like, you know, they'd reach in and grab my toothpaste or something.
That's
you know.
so random as well. I wonder why they...
Food, obviously, fair enough.
Yeah.
Water, I can understand. But like, you know, toiletries,
like your toothbrush,
like shampoo, conditioner.
It's just weird.
You cannot tell me a monkey's there like doing like a 10-step skin routine. You know, like
need it for TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably my favourite memory of our
oh my God
adventures, I'd say. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Do you think traveling has changed your perspective on life and how you see material things? Do you feel the same way about them?
That's a really good question, actually. I would say yes, in that I love living out of a backpack in terms of having like a smaller condensed amount of stuff. Like I like, you know, having like one pair of jeans, you know, maybe a couple of swimsuits, and like, you know, having less choice and having to be a bit more creative, like, oh, what am I going to wear today? So I feel like I'm not wearing the same clothes that I've worn for the last like 3 months, you know? And I definitely, my friends will tell you, like, so much rather spend money on going somewhere and seeing something and seeing somewhere new now, and like really prioritize like experiences over things, you know. Like my housemate and I booked like £40 flights to Barcelona for like 3 nights. No, not even that, like 2 nights, like something just really quick, you know.
That's
like,
cool.
Like went on, found the cheapest flights on Skyscanner, and like we just went, and I had an absolute whale of a time. And I was like, I'd so much rather do that than like go on a night out and stuff like that. You know, there's a time and a place for that, absolutely, but I would so much rather do an experience, see something, go somewhere now than, you know, buy a phone and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it has massively changed how you see things, and you're so aware of how lucky you are as well.
Yes.
To live in a world where it's like, oh my god, I haven't got the latest
I have
phone
never
and stuff.
appreciated like home life since going traveling, like the way I do now. It's so insane to me. Even just things like having access to a hot shower, that is insane to me, which sounds really silly because like now we're in Melbourne, so I'm like, you know, it's different now, but like when you're in the middle of fucking Colombia and you don't have access to hot water, suddenly you're like, god, I really took this for granted at home. And even like you're saying with the outfits, like I have so many clothes at home and I'm just like, oh my god, I managed to live 5 months with 3 t-shirts or whatever it was. Like I definitely could cut down on certain things, and I don't need this. Also things like makeup, skin routine, I can really condense that down if needed.
Massively, yeah.
I agree with you so much. Okay, so you travelled with a partner. Mm-hmm. Travelling with a partner can be really different, I feel, than travelling alone or with friends. What were some of the highs and lows you experienced?
I will start this by saying that I've been with my boyfriend for about 2.5, nearly 3 years. So, you know, like...
Solid relationship going.
Yeah, like we weren't coming out here having just like met each other type thing. And I'm surprised that there was still stuff to learn about how he lives and how he does things. Because, God love him, traveling with him was very interesting. I'm very much like a get up early, like go do things, in bed by 10, you know, read my book, lights out, go to bed. He is very much like, he'd rather like sleep until like 11 but be out till like 3 in the morning and like exploring and stuff like that. Oh my god, you're me. It was an interesting adjustment, put it that way. Like, because bless him, he was like, you know, like, oh, but we're on holiday, can we have a lie? And I'm like, what do you mean you don't want to be up at like 6 in the morning to see everything? Like, you know, and I'll be like, babe, let's go to the temple. And he was like, yeah, okay, you know, can we go and find like something cool to do afterwards? And I'm like, yeah, of course, but temples, you know, let's go see this.
Culture.
Yeah, literally, I'm like, become more culturally educated, come on. Like, but no, bless him, he did really well. So like I said, he hasn't ever like travelled outside of Europe, so he'd never done like a long haul flight. He wasn't super happy with me because again, one of our flights out, really bad turbulence, and it was like a really long flight and he didn't sleep. So he was like, why have I let you talk me into doing this? And I was like, yeah, we have got another 6-hour flight, but you'll be fine. So, but no, he bless him, he really enjoyed it. So he never used to understand. In the UK, I lived in Manchester for the last 3 years, and I was very close to Manchester Airport. I would regularly just go on Skyscanner, find the cheapest flights, and book like a little like 2-night trip away and stuff like that. And he used to be like, I don't get why you're doing it. Like, why do you want to do that, you know? And then when we were traveling around Thailand and stuff like that, and even just like when we were walking, you know, from where we'd been dropped off to the next hostel and stuff like that, and we had our huge rucksacks on and stuff like that, he was like, oh, I get it now. Like, I get why you enjoy it. And like, I don't think I've converted him into like a 6-month-long trip. Don't get me wrong.
No, but I love that.
He definitely like is like, okay, I can see why you enjoy it. You know, I can see why you want to do it and stuff more now. So, I mean, he's never going to sleep in a shared dorm or anything like that. But, you know, like I worked him up to private rooms in a hostel.
I do feel like it is weird though, like as a couple being is it weird? I don't know, being in a shared dorm, because we did it a few times. Like I could probably count on one hand how many times we did it, and one of them was in a room with like 27 people, which I'm like, it was 3-story bunk beds, like it was just fucking weird. But it is interesting because we sort of were like, is this weird that we're sleeping in a dorm? Like, are people going to think we're odd? And it's like, well no, it's just cheaper. Like, we don't want to spend...
You're saving money.
Yeah, we're saving money. But also we found that, I don't know what it's like in Asia, but we found hostel private rooms were so much more expensive than obviously a shared dorm. But also some Airbnbs were so much cheaper than a private hostel room, which was just insane to me, because I thought hostels, like in my head before going, was all about cheap and like save money, and oh, if you want a private room, that's fine, you can pay the same. So I don't know, I found it really interesting, the whole hostel, like shared rooms, private rooms dynamic. When you're in a shared room, like you have more opportunity to socialize maybe. So it's like, if our social battery's up, let's go for it. I don't mind sharing, like we'll meet some people. But sometimes you want that time away and you're like, no, I just kind of need to be in my private room. I'm not, like, my social battery is 0. I don't want to speak to anyone. Let's just chill in our space kind of thing. It sounds so interesting, like not leaving Europe and then moving to Australia, especially.
Yeah, poor thing.
Does he like feel it? Like he feels like it's a big jump, or can you feel that from him?
I think yes and no. We've been talking about doing it for a while, so he's had time to adjust. So basically, pretty much the entirety of third year at uni, we were kind of talking about it. You know, I mean, to be fair, when I say he's never left Europe, bless him, he never left Manchester. Like, he's from Manchester and went to Manchester for uni, and he'd never lived anywhere other than Manchester. Fair. Whereas, like, I'm from the south coast in England. I did a year in London. I then moved up to Manchester for 3 years. You know, I've done a lot of travelling as well by myself. Yeah. So I kind of was like, oh, like, you know, I'll be fine. Because I was like, it is a huge thing. Like,
it's
I'm
a
asking
lot
of him, you know, to be like, to go from the same place you've always lived to the literal other side of the world, you know, like just a small ask. Yeah. But to be fair, I think because we'd finished uni and stuff like that, he was always going to have moved away after, because he didn't want to stay in Manchester. He wasn't going to get a job in Manchester. He was looking at moving, even like if it was just to Leeds or something, you know. Yeah. So I think he was kind of ready for that anyway, and kind of in that sort of mentality. And then he's kind of like moved over here, and he's such a social butterfly. Like he could talk to a brick wall and get you its life story in about 5 minutes. Like, it's insane. This boy just can talk to anyone. It's so impressive. So he's kind of thriving on the fact that there's so many new people to meet. Yeah. Like, and he's already made himself like a little group of friends. Like, it's his birthday on Friday, and he's already got like a group of friends that he's like planned to go out with. Nice. They've got like a group chat, you know, like he's like met up with people who, weirdly enough, actually, one of the first people we met was someone he knew from Manchester who'd moved like, a week after we left.
And that's weird.
I know, it was very much like, oh, for God's sake, like, we've just left, you know?
I can't escape it.
Yeah, so, but he's making friends so quickly. Like, he's kind of settled better than, not, it makes me sound like he's a child or something, but he's settled better than I was expecting. Yeah. Considering.
No, I think that's fair. If there was loads of anxiety around it, I feel like it's, props.
And he's never done it before, you know, like, this is like the third time I've moved big places away from home. So I'm kind of I'm like, if it wasn't for the time difference, I'd feel like I'm still in the UK, to be honest. Like, it doesn't feel like a big change for me. Yeah. But for him, like, it is a big change. So I'm very impressed with like kind of how well he's kind of adjusted, and in such a short space of time. Like, we've only been here a month, and he's so like happy and settled. It's really nice to see. So.
That's so nice. Do you think that this is like, with the traveling as well, do you think it's brought you guys closer? Like, if people are going to go and do a trip together,
I wouldn't recommend starting with moving to the other side of the world. I'd say, you know, start somewhere a bit more local first, because it was a big adjustment, and like that, I think we'd only really done like short holidays, like kind of weekend holidays and stuff like that, and like we'd never even done like a week-long holiday together and stuff like that, and you know, and then we immediately went 3 weeks traveling and then moved to the other side of the world. I think that put us under a little bit of pressure of like, if things go wrong, you've only got each other, so you think it kind of can't go wrong. Yeah. Which did cause a bit of tension. Actually, it was when we were in Bali, so we were kind of like 2 weeks in. It was causing a bit of tension because I think we both felt a bit of pressure that everything had to be perfect, and if it wasn't, then it meant that we were failing in a relationship type thing. We did butt heads a bit in Bali and have kind of like a couple of arguments, but those arguments were really good because we actually said things that needed to be said.
Yeah, it gets you talking. And also it is a lot. Like, there are going to be so many anxious thoughts, overthinking, feeling insecure about certain things. And the whole point of a partner is to be like, let's talk about it. I need to tell you because I'm freaking out over here. Like, can you either take me out of here or come in and like freak out with me? What's going on?
That's exactly it. And like the stuff we ended up then saying, like, we were both thinking the same things, but we were both scared that if we said it, we're going to freak out the other person. Yeah. I had like a couple of little arguments, kind of butted heads a bit, and then we had this big sit down chat. And I remember because we then went to Finn's the next day and it felt very weird because we just had like a huge chat about like everything. And then we were like at Finn's like having a proper party, you know. I was like, the contradiction is very, very weird. But it was really, really good because we actually sat down and we had big conversations about stuff and kind of sorted things out in our heads a little bit. And now, like, not to sound really cliche, but we are, you know, better than ever.
No, I love it. No, I appreciate you sharing. I love it. I think it's great. I think definitely communication with a partner when you're traveling, that's something that Sam and I have learned. Like, if you don't say it, I don't know it. And if you are feeling anxious about something, just tell me. But also I like that you've touched on this whole idea of like, it needs to be perfect, because I definitely feel like, if anything, I had that where I was like, but this needs to be like the best, like this is the biggest trip we're doing, we're away for like 2 years, like this needs to be everything. And then you get there and it's like, who gives a shit, like it's fine. But also I don't want to voice that it needs to be perfect to you, because then you might freak out, and just like exactly what you said, like you just have all these thoughts and overthinking and feeling insecure in what you're doing, when actually it's like, no, just enjoy it. You're probably thinking the same thing, like you said, you just need to talk about it. I feel like that's the one thing I've like definitely learned, and sounds like you've learned with traveling with a partner. Massively. If you don't voice it, it's not going to be addressed at all. What advice would you give to other couples planning to travel together? Is there anything that makes it harder or easier?
Practically, I would say make sure you've got some of each other's clothes in your
did you
bag.
do this?
So we did this in case, you know, bags got lost or anything like that. So I had some of my clothes in his bag and vice versa, so that if anything were to happen, we weren't stranded with like, you know,
nothing,
someone having no clothes, you know. So because I was like, that's going to create resentment, like if all my stuff is gone and you're there like in all your clothes, I'll get really annoyed at you, because that's the kind of person I am. But so practically I'd say that. I think, to be honest, don't put too much pressure on it. Like there will be times where you butt heads and argue. There will be times where the restaurant one of you has chosen is actually really rubbish, and then you're there going like, oh my god, like I feel like a dick now because I've chosen a really rubbish restaurant. Or you'll go somewhere and it won't be what you're expecting, and you'll get annoyed about it, or something will happen. Just remember, like, you do still love each other. Like you are there with each other. Like it's not the end of the world if something goes wrong, because I really struggled with that. I felt very much like, because I'd been to Thailand and stuff and he hadn't, I felt very much like it needed to be perfect for him, and like if a restaurant we booked was a bit rubbish or something like that, I would then feel really guilty and then try and overcompensate, and then he'd be like, it's fine, it's chill, and I'd be like, no, you're too chill about it, like stress with me, you know. And then we'd end up going in circles, and it was like, actually when I was like, no, actually I'll just take a bit of, you know, advice from his book and just chill out a little bit. Suddenly everything was a lot better and it felt a lot less stressful, I'd say. So,
Oh, I like that. Okay, now you're in Melbourne. What was that transition like? How did it feel going from Asia to a city like Melbourne?
Expensive at first. Oh, that was a bit of a shock, I won't lie. Going from like Bali, Thailand prices to coming here, and obviously I wouldn't say it's necessarily more expensive than the UK, but I'd say it's certainly
it's on par.
Yeah. So, you know, when you're going from like spending like the equivalent of like £3 on your dinner to then spending like 20, 30, 40, 50, and you're like, oh, okay, suddenly my savings are going down a lot quicker. I think certainly, I don't know, the first kind of like 2 weeks was a bit difficult because we didn't have a routine yet, and we were trying to do everything at once. So we were trying to get TFN numbers, banks, you know, trying to find somewhere to live, because we were in an Airbnb for the first month, but we were conscious of the fact that, like, certainly in the UK it takes a long time to rent a flat. I didn't realise quite how quickly it moves here, but we were like, you know, we've got to anticipate that. We need to be getting jobs because we are going to need to start having an income very soon, you know. So it was a bit stressful and kind of wasn't, I'm not sure about Max, but I certainly didn't necessarily enjoy the first few weeks, just because we were constantly trying to sort something out, and then it kind of felt that if I took 5 minutes to not do anything, like I was doing something wrong. But I think then once we got a little bit more settled and we found jobs and started getting a bit of an income coming in, and then we actually are in a flat now in Balaclava that we've got for 6 months till April.
Nice.
As soon as we'd got that, I was like,
relax,
this is great, you know. Oh, we're in Australia. And I suddenly started to enjoy it a hell of a lot more, because it felt like, you know, you weren't spending money hand over fist, and you know, I wasn't burning through my savings. It was like, okay, yes, you know, I'm going to spend this money on a nice meal out, but actually I've got some money coming in on Wednesday when I get paid. So it felt like, again, the pressure was off a little bit.
Yeah.
So it kind of meant that we could enjoy it a bit more. But like, it's a great city. Like, I can so see why everyone moves here.
And how are you with maintaining relationships back home, like family, friendships? Are you someone that is good at texting, calling? Do you voice note? Do you not care? Are you into any of it?
I'm making a real conscious effort to make sure I keep up my relationships at home. Certainly, like with my parents and stuff, I call them kind of every couple of days or so. The time zone actually works out quite well because I tend to be able to call them in the morning, which is their evening, which works quite well with their jobs and stuff. Weirdly enough, I find it a bit trickier with friends because they're more likely to be working jobs where they're going to be working when I'm asleep and vice versa. But I certainly, like, you know, I phoned my best mate last night and stuff like that. So I'm certainly able to keep up with them a lot over text. There's a lot of texting. I'm struggling to kind of find the time to phone them, and like FaceTime, I find that harder, but certainly texting, I'm making a real effort to be like, you know, even if I'm replying once a day because of time zones, at least I'm replying. Do you know what I mean? And kind of reaching out and trying to make a real effort, because at the end of the day, like, Australia is lovely, but I've still got lovely friends at home that I want to keep in contact with. So,
yeah,
yeah.
100%. How has it been adjusting to life here as a couple? Obviously, you've like touched on it quite a bit, but in terms of like making friends, do you find it harder because you're in a couple, or are you guys quite independent in like socially, or how is that sort of working?
That's really interesting because my friend has just moved to one of my mates has just moved to New Zealand, and she's by herself and travelling around, so she's staying in a lot of hostels and stuff, and she's making quite a few friends.
Yeah.
But certainly Max hasn't so much, but he could talk to a brick wall and become his best mate. Like, but I certainly have struggled to kind of meet people a little bit and make friends a bit. But I think part of that is he joined like a rugby team and stuff like that, so he met some friends through that. Like, he had a very social workplace, so he was working in a bar in St Kilda, so he met people through that and then went on nights out and then met people through the nights out and stuff like that.
Right.
Whereas the only thing I probably should do is like join like a sports team or something like that. And my workplace, the cafes that I work at, is quite small.
Right.
So it tends to just be like me and the boss. When we were in Bali, when we were at Finn's, we met this lovely Geordie couple. So I'm a real introvert, Max is a real extrovert. They're like the reverse of us. Really works out because I get along with her really well.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, she's out making friends loads, and I'm like, can I just like slide in?
Yeah,
literally. So she met up with a group of girls last week, and I couldn't go because I was working, but she was like, we'll do something again and I'll get you to meet them all and you'll make friends with all of them.
I love that. That's so nice.
Thanks. Just you can make my friends for me and then I just slot in.
I'll just be there.
Perfect. That's fine by me. So
I love that. Yeah, because I definitely feel like it's more difficult as a couple from people I've spoken to as well, because also at the beginning, like you said, you are spending your whole time like almost in fight or flight. Like, I need to get a job, I need to get, like you said, TFN, bank, phone number, blah blah blah. And I feel like as a couple you have each other to lean on in those times, so you're sort of like not outsourcing to other people, because I don't know, for us it was very like, but I have Sam, like he has me, and you know, if we're struggling we've got each other, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think definitely in those first few months or first few weeks you feel like I don't really need to go and see anyone right now, like, because also no one knows me, so can I lean on them? Like, is that weird if I'm freaking out to these people? So yeah, I find it really interesting because as a solo traveler especially, you would have to put yourself out there more, and like imagine living here on my own and it's like it would be silent the whole time otherwise. Like, I want to go out and meet more people, and the only way to do that is to put yourself out there, which can be really uncomfortable for a lot of people. It's like not
and scary.
Yeah, terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Are there any aspects of Asian culture or lifestyle that you've tried to keep alive whilst being here?
Oh, the food. I love the food.
I thought you might say food.
I absolutely love the food. So I have a few stomach issues, which means I can't eat certain things. And the only time I like never have stomach issues, I mean, okay, apart from when I got Bali belly in Bali, but that's separate.
Irrelevant, it's fine.
We just won't talk about that bit. The only time I never have issues with my stomach is when I'm eating like pad thais and stuff like that, like Asian food. Like, I don't know what it is, but it just agrees with me so well. And it also helps that it's really delicious. Yeah. So it's such nice food. So when when we got here and stuff like that, like, you know, like the Asian supermarkets and stuff like that, like I try to find some of them, and like, you know, as soon as we were a bit more settled and we were in our flat a bit more permanently, I was like, right, I'm going to go out and buy like a bunch of sauces and stuff, like get the noodles and stuff. I really love, especially Thai food. It's probably say it's my favourite cuisine. Like that was a big reason why I wanted to go back. I won't lie, I just wanted to eat the food. You know, but like the food is just incredible. Like if I could just pick it up and like plonk it in my house, like I would. Like it's so good. So
I feel like there's so much choice here in Melbourne as well. Like there are so, I think even in the CBD there's like a whole strip of just Asian places. Like you have the Chinese, Thai, Indian, whatever. It's so good. Like
it's so nice.
So nice. Okay, talking about future traveling. I mean, I've written this question, but I feel like the answer is yes. Do you see yourself travelling more in the future? Any continents or countries calling to you?
Massively, yeah. I don't know what gave that hint away. Yeah, well, I mean, put it this way, like we were here for like 2 weeks before I was making Max book a trip to Mornington, and like I've booked flights to New Zealand. So I really want to do New Zealand properly and go for like, you know, like a couple of weeks and get a van and do all of it. South America is big on my list.
Any specific countries? Or?
I know, I want to go everywhere. I'm insufferable. People are like, oh, where do you want to go? And I'm like, where do I not want to go? That's probably a quicker answer, you know, like, so I really want to do South America. I really want to do like South Africa and Kenya and like Botswana and do like the safaris and stuff. I really want to do Madagascar, but it's so difficult to get to. Like you have to like fly in. Yeah, I was looking at doing it from the UK. It was going to be like 40 hours or something ridiculous, because you have to like fly down to South Africa and then you have to like get a flight and then you have to get like a ferry or something. Like it was very complicated.
I feel naive. I thought you would have just flown to South Africa, is that?
You would think.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
Apparently not. How hard can we make it to get there?
Let's make it as challenging as possible. But you know, there's so many places I want to see. Like that's a big part of like why we kind of came here, is like it's easy to get flights to New Zealand, you know, like I want to do all the places around like Melbourne and stuff. And then, you know, I would really like to do more of Indonesia, the Philippines. I'd like to do South Korea, I'd like to do Japan. But I want to do everything. Basically.
No, but it's true, because also everyone says obviously Australia is so out of the way, like it's very isolated, but actually when you're on this side of the world, things like Asia or New Zealand are so much more accessible to you than they would be at home. Like it would be so much longer getting here from home.
And so much more expensive as well. Yes. Like, you know, like I was looking at flights to South Korea because one of the girls I worked with in the summer has moved there. Okay. And I sort of said it as a joke, like, oh, haha, I'll come visit. And she was like, yeah, do. And I was like, oh, amazing.
Shouldn't have said that.
I was like, I'm moving there tomorrow then. And I was like looking at the flights, and it's like a 8-10 hour flight or something ridiculous.
Okay.
But it was only going to be like $300 one way.
Oh, fair.
And I was
what
like,
is it from the UK? Like,
oh, $1 million, you know? When she was looking at a one-way flight in September, and it was looking at about £800 for a one-way flight, you know, not even for the return as well. So
perks of being in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Have you got any advice to listeners who dream of travelling or even making a big move with a partner?
I'd say start small. I wouldn't recommend starting by moving to the other side of the world.
Yeah.
I'd say start with maybe slightly trickier destinations first. So although me and Max hadn't gone on many holidays, one of the places we did go to was Morocco.
Oh, nice.
And we did Marrakesh and stuff like that. We have a bit of a habit of going, if we're going to go anywhere, we'll go when there's some sort of holiday on, so just to make life a little bit more difficult, without realising though. So we went to Morocco during, I didn't realise this, but there's 2 Eids. So
oh, okay. I didn't know that.
No, so you have Ramadan and you have Eid, and then there's actually another Eid.
Okay.
Which happens a bit later on. We went during the second Eid, and we were there for a weekend. We were there like Friday to Monday. And so on the Sunday and the Monday, everything was shut. So just to add a little bit of, difficulty level to your holiday. That was a slightly trickier holiday because obviously, as a woman, you do get a little bit more attention there. It's a little bit more tiring in terms of like you're kind of having to fend off people a little bit.
Right.
Even with like someone with you. That was then, again, it wasn't causing arguments, but it was then making us have difficult conversations, because like Max would react to it in one way and I'd be like, please don't do that, I don't like it when you do that, and he'd be like, okay, fine. And then other times I'd be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have reacted like that, and because he'd be like, you needed to have done something then, and I was like, yeah, okay, totally fair, I can see why you think that. But it meant that we were having those slightly more difficult situations and conversations, because we were in those slightly difficult situations of, you know, okay, right, everything's shut today, where are we going to get food, how are we going to eat, because, you know, the hostel only has breakfast, you know, and we're having to be a bit more creative. And like, it's even like little things, like at one point I was like, oh my god, I think I'm going to come on my period whilst I'm here, but I hadn't clocked it and hadn't brought anything with me. And then trying to find anything like any kind of period items in Morocco when everything's shut because it's like a religious holiday. Oh my god, the bane of my life. Like, it was so difficult. And poor Max, like, I was sat there like stressed, like freaking out, and he was like, yeah, okay, let me try and source it. And I was like, but everything's shut. And he's having to deal with me. And like, again, like it's those slightly more difficult situations, but knowing, okay, worst case scenario, we go home Monday, you know? So like, we're only in this for the next 2-3 days. You know? Yeah, that was definitely, I think, a good lead up to what we then did with the traveling around Asia, because we'd been in a slightly more difficult situation where we'd only had each other to lean on. You know, because at home, worst case scenario, you can phone your mum or you can phone your dad or you've got your friends, but here it was like, okay, we are going to only have each other, let's try and work it out together and stuff. And like, you know, we ended up having a whale at the time. It was great country, really gorgeous, highly recommend. But it was certainly interesting to go and explore it with him and, you know, see it through his perspective as well and stuff like that. So
and it's so interesting to me because I feel like they're things you don't think about when you're at home. Like, I'd never anticipated any of these small little things where I'm like, if I didn't have Sam in that situation, I don't know what I would have done, or like when I had him in that situation, how he would have felt. And I find it so interesting, the dynamic of going away as a couple and how you really do lean on each other, even if you're independent individuals.
Yeah, but it's even like little things. Like, I don't know if you and Sam lived together before you left, but me and Max hadn't.
No. And we kind of had at uni, but not like officially.
Not like, and it's that kind of like, you know, it's like little things like, oh my god, like, are you folding your clothes or are you hanging them up? You know, like, how much wardrobe space do you need? Like, you know, like,
take over the whole bathroom, why don't you?
Yeah, like, I need snacks. What do you mean you've eaten all my snacks? You know, it's those little things that you if you like, especially like if you'd lived together beforehand, you would know that. So the transition might be easier. But again, that was like a big change as well. It was, oh my god, you're here all the time. Like, I'm getting no space from you, you know?
I feel like you just make sure you get on with your partner. It's like the main thing. Like,
I'd say so.
Be friends with your partner if anything, because you need to get on.
You will find out very quickly if you don't like each other. Like, very quickly. And that's then a really awkward, like, rest of your trip if you don't. So...
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I've absolutely loved this chat. I feel like people are going to resonate with it so much and take some really good advice from it. If anyone wants to come and find you on your socials, where can they find you?
So I have 2 Instagram accounts. So we have Max and M's Travels, and then _Amelie_Carter. It's very standard. And then on TikTok, it's also Max and M's Travels, but it's very much just my like fun little page. So.
No, I love. Go and check that out, everyone. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.